I wish, everybody say, I wish. I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. Now, before you think this is like, oh my gosh, like this is gonna be a Hallmark lovey-dovey and all the guys are like, I'm out. No, watch this. This is in the top 3 of regretful characteristics those on their deathbed have articulated. I wish I had the courage to express my feelings, express myself. I wish I would have been true to me a little bit more. And so feelings, of course, can be good, they can be bad, they can be compliments, they can be constructive conversations. We know this, holding back emotions, not expressing love, not expressing gratitude and apologies, avoiding certain aspects of conflict just in order to maintain surface level peace are often regretted as missed opportunities for the dying, for deeper connections with others. I'll never forget, it was my first year of pastoring. A family called me in the middle of the night to run up here to Jefferson Hospital. I got there in the nick of time to see an elderly man. He was minutes away from his death. And his son lived out of state, and there's no way he's gonna make it in time. The man on the bed gripped my hand as tight as he could, barely a feather worth of strength left. I could barely hear his voice. My ear is almost pressed up to his lips. I'm trying to hang on to every word. This is a dying man's last wishes. I'm taking it serious. The moment is raw. I'm listening carefully. He takes one big deep breath, and I know this is gonna be, if this is not the last thing he says, it's gonna be close to it. Death hung in the air. And he says, please tell my son, I'm sorry. I said, I've got my cell phone. Can we call him? Because I knew the son. Can we call him? No. I could not tell him. For the next few moments, I pleaded with the man. Hey, I will tell him, but it would mean so much to him if he would hear this from your voice. Tell him. I pleaded with the man. Tell him how you feel. Whatever this exchange is, whatever this divide is, whatever the circumstance, whatever the problem, here you are dying and you can't even anticipate the presence of Jesus, and you can't even die with peace and gratitude because there's a friction, there's a tension going on. Please call him. Please. I'll put it on speakerphone. I'll regurgitate what you're saying if he can't hear you. Please just tell him yourself. Oh, I could never do that. And pride got in the way of what could have been healing for the son for the rest of his life. True to my promise, I pulled the son over to the side as soon as I had the opportunity. Hey man, your dad wanted me to tell you that he's sorry. To which his response was, if he felt that way, he should have told me himself. I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. Teenagers, you're gonna wanna listen. I know you're long away from your deathbed, but you're gonna wanna pay attention, because what I wanna do tonight is teach you how to be an adult that you wish you had in your life. And if you have this adult in your life, you need to know how they are that person in your life. There are some of you, your parents are desperately trying to connect with you, but because no one modeled for them what communication of this level feels like and looks like, they don't know how. So they're trying to connect with you, they just don't know how. And for some of them, they are connecting with you, but you think they're being nosy, or you think they're being all up in your business, and in fact, it's a sign of love. So I want to give you language for what they're trying to do to connect with you. And even if you have the greatest parents, and I hope you do, okay, there's something about learning now how to engage in communication and relationships at the soul level that will save you years from heartache, right? Husbands and wives, this is for you, okay? If there's division in your marriage, you're gonna wanna hang on to today as well. I would encourage you, refrain from elbow bumping and We don't need any of that. Keep the to yourself on the way home, all right? And if you're single or if you're just looking to broaden the spectrum of your relationships, may tonight be extremely helpful for you as we talk about how to get down to a soul connection. I wish I had the courage to express my feelings, both the positive and then constructively how to handle the call-ups. Tonight, just as a way of warning, how many of you love a list? Like a list, like you just love a list. You're just wired that way. I do too. I love it. Matter of fact, if I had to make a list of everything I love, list would be on the list. I love it. I make a list for my list. To do, make a to-do list. I'm already there. Check. I love it. So today, if you like lists and you like taking notes, this is Fort Knox for you. This is a gold mine. And if you don't, oh well, sit down and enjoy yourself. Let me remind you where we were 2 weeks ago, since we're talking about communicating at the soul level. I showed you this pie chart about relationships. Remember, there's 4 different types of relationships. There's surface level acquaintances. This is your casual meet and greet. And then there's the casual relationships where you know things about them, but you're not really connecting at the heart level. Then there's the close. These are people that you are doing life with a sense of intentionality, where the former is by coincidence. The close relationships are by choice. You're choosing to meet up and do life together. But within those that you're choosing to do life with, there's a sliver of the pie, and that is intimate relationships. Where Jesus had a crowd that followed him, he had the massive amount of disciples. Then he had the 12 disciples, and within the 12, he had 3. Pete, Jim, and John. And we talked about how to identify those individuals in your life. But in the art of communication and expressing our feelings biblically and personally and holistically and honestly, we need to look at what this looks like in the realm of communication. This is friendship. This is communication. Are you ready? There's surface level conversations. Then for the casual, everything's very informational. I am going to the store at 5 o'clock. Little Jimmy has a ball game at 2. Everything's very informational. By the way, if you're struggling in your marriage, it could be because you're drifting from intimacy into information. Get out of information mode and start connecting at the intimate level. Pastor, tell me how. I will in just a minute with a list. And then there's feelings. Feelings is where where you're close enough to have a feelings conversation with somebody. I feel this. I'm feeling very anxious. I'm happy. It's a certain level of vulnerability when you start talking about your feelings, right? When somebody starts talking about their feelings and it rubs you the wrong way, or just kind of like, who are you to bring your feelings to me? You know they're not close, all right? Then there's the needs. When you are close enough to an individual where you are able to express your heart needs, or you can identify their heart needs, borrowing from Sunday's message, when you know the needs that drive them to fear, or the needs that gives them stability and peace, you know you're connecting at the intimate level, okay? Borrowing from the needs category then, here's where I want to go now. We want to look at this word intimacy. The word intimacy literally means, if we would literally break it down from its original language, into me to see. That's what the word intimacy means. Into me to see. There's no barriers, there's no facade, there's no projection, there's no pretension or pretending. It is me in the raw. It's me. I don't got to pretend to be anybody to be in front of you. The reason why I can be around you and you be a breath of fresh air and you're fulfilling and not draining is because I don't have to pretend to be anything that I'm not. It's into me to see. My life is an open book, not in front of everybody, but in front of Pete, Jim, and John, the intimate friends. The problem with intimacy is that we put borders around in order to protect our heart. Because we've all been hurt by someone who got into me to see only to destroy what it was in me. Anybody else? Yeah, you're making a list right now of your own, aren't you? You're making your own list. Papa got it. And into me to see. I want to look at this fence, if you will, the border. We'll come right back to it. There are 4 types of levels of a communication. There's surface, there's informational, there's feeling, there's needs. The reason we fail to move from information to feelings or feelings into needs is for a few reasons. Let me give you a list. We communicate out of unresolved hurt. We never get to intimacy in our relationships or in the art of communication because we're still communicating out of unresolved hurt. Somebody hurt you somewhere in your life, and now you can't have an into me to see conversation with them because you're responding to them based upon somebody who hurt you that's not even in the room. Like, you know what I'm talking about. Like, you're taking it out on them, but it's not even about them. It's about what Joe did at work or Margaret did at the house or whoever, whatever, right? And so you're having it out. You have a short fuse. You're going off. You're raising the level. Your communication is polluted because there's still undealt with wounds in your heart. Another reason why we fail to go a deeper level in our communication is because of different communication styles. So write this down. Men tend to communicate informationally, and women tend to communicate relationally. Okay? So for example, a man comes home from work and says, "Hey, what time are we going to eat?" And what he's asking is, what time are we going to eat? That's all he wanted to know. At what time can I expect dinner? What she hears is from the relational aspect, when are you gonna start making dinner? That's what she hears, right? So him and her are about to go to a work function. He doesn't know what to wear. He communicates informationally. I don't know what to wear. How dressed up do I need to get? So he asked the question, are you wearing that? She hears, why, am I fat? Right? Informationally, relationally. Another reason why we fail to communicate at a deeper level is because we make assumptions. And you know what they say about assumptions? Keep it to yourself. And another reason is that we're always in a hurry and we never have time to actually settle down and communicate. Another reason is because of a lack of empathy. A lack of empathy. In other words, we're trying to understand the other person from a literal mindset. Well, everything is so literal. You said, well, but that's not what I meant. But we never actually empathize with what was meant because of what was said. You follow me on this? There are almost 7,000 languages that have a phrase equivalent to the English morning greeting, good morning. Over 7,000 languages around the world that have a phrase, good morning. Except for one particular dialect in West Africa, they have no such greeting. The closest greeting they have to good morning, if you literally translate it into English, says, the night is over and you're still alive. Now, newlyweds, I don't recommend trying that out, fellas. You know, the alarm clock goes off. The night is over and you're still here. I don't recommend it, fellas. I don't recommend it. But we're trying to understand from a literal format and not an empathetic approach. 4 barriers that will always keep intimate relationships at bay. 4 barriers that will push your well-meaning relationships back around counterclockwise that pie chart. So why don't I feel like I'm really connecting with this certain individual? I would consider them my intimate friend or my close friend, but I feel like we've hit a roadblock and I don't feel like we're getting anywhere. I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere with my mom or with my dad. I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere with my son or daughter or my grandkid. I just feel like me and my wife, like we're doing all the right things, but nothing's going right well enough of the time to make me feel right about the relationship. What's going on? It's a communication breakdown. What are the fence posts around intimacy? Are you ready? The first thing we do is we withdraw. So either we give up or we just withdraw from from even pursuing I tried and they're not coming around. I'm just giving up on them. It reminds me of the time tested, every marriage has been through this, the silent treatment. You know what I'm talking about? Look spiritual if you want, but I know behind closed doors, you tried that silent treatment. You tried it. And if you're unfamiliar with the silent treatment, there's one word: remain silent, all right? Because if you break the silence first, they win, and it would make you more mature. And we don't want that. We don't want that. We want to remain as emotionally immature as possible, right? So we win, they lose. It reminds me of a story of this couple. They had been married like 11, 12 years, and they got into a big fight, and they were both giving each other the silent treatment. And so husbands and wives know exactly what I'm talking about. You can be mad at a person, you can give them the silent treatment, but there's still something that you need from them to help you out, but you can't break the silence and let them know you need them. So this guy wrote down, he was gonna be late for work, and so he wrote her a note and said, I have to be up by 5 a.m. to catch my flight. And he slammed it on her side of the bed on the nightstand. He woke up the next morning at 7 a.m., missed his flight, looked over, and that note he wrote was on his side of the nightstand, and it said, wake up, it's 4:45. Fellas, don't try it. We are not equipped to handle such dialogue with our spouses. We withdraw. Everybody say it's 4:45. Yeah, it's 4:45. What we do is either we will withdraw, or, are you ready for this? We will escalate. Escalate. This is in terms of volume, passion. We're slamming doors. We're throwing things around. We're escalating. And by the way, science has proven that the more volume that is taking place around us, the more our rational thought decreases. So we're trying to make a point, but we can't even make a point well because we're so loud. And if you're wondering, that's not my problem at all. That's not my problem at all. I'm very quiet at the house. And we'll either withdraw, we'll escalate. And by the way, what are we doing when we're escalating a matter? We're trying to intimidate. Watch this now. So we want intimacy, but we're blocking intimacy because of our default intimidation. You can't intimidate someone into closeness. You can't threaten somebody into closeness. You can't be superior into intimacy. No, that's why Jesus didn't come as the Son of God to lord over us. He came as a servant. He's gonna serve his way into intimacy, not superiority, even though he had it. Don't show me your strength by your enforcement. Show me your strength by being in control. Withdraw, escalation, or belittlement. Belittlement. This is where we feel like we are losing ground or superiority over them, and so there's nothing else we know what to say, so we will lower them to give us the false sense that we're still above them. See how all these it just blocks intimacy. It just blocks intimacy. Fourthly, psychologists tell us it's this false reality. This is where we begin to live and see the world through our feelings. So now, we're not even thinking about the problem correctly. We're not seeing them correctly because we are living through this false world we created through our emotions. And your emotions are not always factual. What we want to do then is, if this is what blocks intimacy, what are 3 things that we can use to lower the drawbridge, if you will, and use this as a runway for communication to get back at the heart of conversation, the heart of intimacy? Are you ready for those 3 things? Yeah, I've got another list for you. Write down the word listen. Listen. We want to use it as an acronym, listen. Let me just run through these quickly. The letter L is look at them with love. Look at them with love. Okay. Look at them with love. Mark chapter 10, I think it's just one of the most beautiful and personal verses in all the Bible. It's very short. It's very to the point. Jesus felt genuine love for the man as he looked straight at him. You want to get to the heart of intimate conversations and relationships with your parents, with your children, with each other, with your friends? Eye-to-eye contact with a heart that says, you know what, we may be disagreeing right now, but man, I love you. You and I are not at odds. We are partners to get against the odd that is trying to tear us apart. Like a surgeon is not mean for opening up a patient to eradicate cancer. It is out of love he tenderly cuts away at what is overtaking the individual to preserve their life, not to overtake it. Master communicators and master relationships know how to wield a scalpel and not a sword. Look at them with love. So before you go into a conversation, check your love meter. Because you can be mad at someone, but at its core still love them. And so you focus your motives on the love and not the attribute that's causing the division. Letter I, invest the time. You know how our generation spells love, T-I-M-E, right? The Bible says that Jesus chose his 12 disciples that he might be with them. Love requires time spent with, right? Letter S, share their feelings, not your solutions. Isn't it crazy how some people are just wired to every conversation, they immediately try to fix the other person? They immediately turn into Bill Nye the Science Guy with all, well, if you look at this pie chart, and no, I just want to know what time was dinner. That was it, right? Share their feelings, not your solutions. We'll come back to that one. Letter T, tune in to what is beneath the words. So I hear what you're saying, but what are you meaning? Tune in. Letter E, engage them with open-ended questions. Proverbs 20 says, people's thoughts are like water in deep well, but someone with true insight and wisdom, with ability and stability of soul and spirit, let me use a Bible word, with self-control, is able to draw out the deep waters of another individual. Why? So they both can be refreshed by its knowledge. Engage them with open-ended questions. Let me give you a list within the list. 3 questions to ask in order to engage with them at a deeper level. What happened? So maybe you hear somebody on the phone, or they just walked into the house, or you get in the car and clearly somebody's upset, right? It's, hey, what happened? What you're looking for is the activating event, right? Secondly, man, how did that make you feel? Thirdly, man, I can see what that did to you. I can see that really bothered you. I can see that really took your peace. Watch this now. By asking those 3 questions, that's called emotional presence. That's what it looks like to be emotionally present with somebody. Now watch this. When I ask you those questions, that's emotional presence I have with you. When the table is turned and I answer those questions for you, that's called vulnerability. When I invite you to help me process those questions with me, that's called emotional connection. You trying to reestablish a connection? That's how. Pastor, can you run that by me one more time? On YouTube. You got it. Letter N in the acronym LISTEN. I want to help you out. No judgment until you have all the facts. So this is where you don't just immediately take their side and defend them or throw up a rebuttal against them. No. Let me get all the facts straight. You know what the Bible says in Proverbs 18? What a shame. And then it goes on to say, yes, how stupid, exclamation point. I love the Bible. What a shame. Yes, how stupid it is to decide before knowing all the facts. A person with understanding gets all the facts, and the wise person listens to learn more before they just run off and believe. That's the Bible. So remember now, we're talking about how to live a regret-less life in the area of soul connection. I wish I would have expressed my heart more and better. So how do we do that? Let me give you another acronym. Share. First letter, S, speak. Speak. We don't know unless you let us know. Right? Otherwise, we're left to assume or guess or wonder or speak. Everybody say speak. One of the biggest problems we have as adults is that when we grew up, we learned to hide well. Right? We grew up and we learned to hide well. For some reason, when we got older, we can no longer be honest with the way we feel. So we've mastered the game of hide and seek emotionally. When we were a kid, it was easy to say what we felt. I'm scared. I don't know. I need help. I love you. And then something happens when we become adults that we're so afraid of being hurt again, we actually we build up these walls that keep medicine out. The healing antidote out. The reason why we're not vulnerable is because we don't trust people with our imperfections. And yet, how are we strengthened? And how does God revive our soul? Through our imperfections. Where we are weak, there he is strong. Letter H, honor. Honor. You want to deepen a connection relationally with somebody? Honor. Teenagers, the Bible says honor your father and mother, not for their benefit and not because they necessarily deserve it all the time, but so that it will go well with you. So the Bible says, I've got the secret sauce on how to have a good life. If you learn to honor well in the good times, in the bad times, in the disappointing times, in the wrongful times, if you learn how to be a person of honor, God will honor you one day. David didn't have all the talents in the world. What he had was a spirit that honored authority. And God used his honor of authority later on in life. People who knew how to honor authority were placed around him. Learn it now, it'll save your life later. It will influence your life later. Come on, everybody say honor. Letter A, affectionate. This is where we express affection. Do you know what I love about you? And then we tell them. Imagine that. Imagine that. Imagine if we got beyond I love you to this is why. Like even at a friendship level, you know? Like it's not weird if you don't make it weird, fellas, you know? You're just like, man, you know what I love about you? Man, I love that every time I'm around you, I just feel better. You know, like, I don't know if it's your a sense of humor, or if it's your word of encouragement, or if it's just the way that you make me feel seen and needed and known. I don't know. But every time we get done talking, man, I feel better. I love you, dude. That's not weird. You're just being, watch this, Jeremiah 31. God is talking here. He says, I have loved you, my people, with an everlasting love. With unfailing love, I have drawn you to myself. You say, well, that kind of sounds like the first one, S, speak your emotions. What? Speaking emotions and being affectionate are related, but they are distant concepts. Here's what I mean. Expressing emotion involves conveying your feelings. But being affectionate involves demonstrating your feelings. It involves doing something that affirms that which you just proclaimed. So speaking emotions is voice. Being affectionate is demonstration. Letter R, we reinforce truth and love. Ephesians 4, we will be a people that speak the truth in love, growing in every way, more and more, just like Christ. What I love, or what about this? Pastor, just feels like really, ooey gooey and, like bubble gum and raindrops types of things. What about the conversations that we need to have? Have them, but with love. Have them, but check your motives, not your temperature, like your anger. Have them, but make sure that you're coming at it from the right perspective and the right angle. Have the conversation, but with a heart of love. So watch this. Truth without grace is mean, because you're all truth. Truth without grace is mean, but all grace without truth is meaningless. If my son is playing with fire and I'm all grace, that's all right, little buddy. I love you. Burn the house down. It's okay. It's all right. I love you. Yeah, no, there's got to be truth in the conversation. I'm going to spank your butt. You do that again, right? You're going to burn yourself. You're going to hurt yourself. So So truth without grace is mean. Grace without truth is meaningless. Oh, but truth and grace is medicine to the soul. Okay? What you want to do is have the conversation with a language and with a tone that lets them know while we're talking about this situation, you are safe with me. You're safe with me. We can talk about this and me still respect you. We can talk about this and still be people of dignity and decorum. We can talk about this and still get to intimacy void of intimidation. That was good, Pastor. Thank you. Let's move on. Letter E, encourage. Nope, too late now. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Letter E, and share. Encourage. Encouragement obviously means put courage into. Courage in. What we're doing here is we're finding qualities that are praiseworthy and we highlight them. Doesn't Philippians say, whatever is true, honorable, worthy, praiseworthy, excellent, think about such things? The reason why he wants us to think about such things is so we can talk about such things. We're prone to talk about the negative and then we skip over the good part, which is what is praiseworthy and full of encouragement. So then the question is, if my relationship is going to deepen because of my ability and my vulnerability and my courage to share with them, then when is the right time to speak? Here's our last list. When do we speak? Now we're talking about those confrontation conversations. This is about the conversation you need to have. Are you ready? Because the ability of expressing your feelings involves both the good and the corrective. Speak. When do we speak? Letter S, save it for the best time and place. Rarely is it right now. Okay, rarely is it right now. Save it for the best time and place. Ecclesiastes 8 says there's a right time and there's a right place for everything. Proverbs 16:23, intelligent people think before they speak. So letter P is you pray and you plan what needs to be said so that you are communicating well and they're receiving protection and stability in and around the conversation itself. Letter E, you empathize with their needs first. So A, this is what we're talking about. Tell me how that made you feel. What's going on? And then now watch this. Are you ready? Are you ready? This is going to be mind-boggling here. Are you ready? You let them talk. I know. Ephesians 4 says, speak then only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs. How can you speak according to their needs if you don't know what their needs are? And you don't know what needs have been fractured. And you don't know what disappointment has rested around said needs. Letter A, we affirm the positive alternatives. In other words, after we're done talking about the needs, we need to spend the bulk of the conversation talking about solutions. Many times we'll get into this vortex, this pit of talking about what went wrong that we never actually have the bandwidth or the mental energy to talk about where it needs to go from here. The Bible is saying, affirm the positive. A mature person, Proverbs 16, is known for his understanding. In other words, be a proponent for what we can do. Pastor, I just tell it like it is. That's not always a good thing. Tell it like it could be. Tell it like it should be. Be a person of vision. Be a person able to rebuild what has been torn down. Be a person of hope. Be a person of the future. I'll tell it like it is. Yeah, how it could be one day if we can both get on the same page, get in alignment, and go in the direction together. Speak. Everybody say speak. Letter K, we keep calm and we don't argue. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Oh, I've got like 12 pages of notes, but that sounds like a good place to land the plane. The band can come. Everybody say listen. Yeah. Say share. Say speak. Wouldn't it be a crazy thing to get to the end of our life and you or I call a trusted friend to our bedside, and the only thing on our mind is somebody needs to express my feelings for me. Pastor, would you tell them I'm sorry? Wouldn't it be great if right now we learned the art of communication so that when we find ourselves in that place, we're not filled with regretful remorse. We're able to look at our loved ones in the face or on the phone and say, I love you. Man, I thank God for you. It's been a good life with you. I'll see you on the other side. Yeah. I want that for you. Because I know what it's like to sit across the bedsides of numerous people of all ages, teenagers, adults, grandparents. And the elephant in the room is, why didn't they ever tell me they loved me? Why didn't they express it? Why didn't they show it? Why was I so prideful that I couldn't get it out of my mouth? We were made for love. We were made for encouragement. We were made for intimate relationships. I'm not saying that you need to open up your heart to everybody, but you do need to open up your heart to somebody who has the ability to speak intimately into the corridors of your heart and just remind you of the love of the Heavenly Father. He says, this is my son, this is my daughter, in whom I love, in whom I'm well pleased. So if you have somebody like that in your life, don't take it for granted. Maybe you want to remind them sometime this week, you're that person for me. You've been that person for me. Or maybe you need to be that person for someone else. That starts now.